Hi, welcome to my lecture on human physiology. Today we're going to talk about the endocrine system. The endocrine system is one of the body's two major communication systems. Also, we can call the control systems. The other is the nervous system, and the endocrine system will be the second. In fact, the endocrine system is one of the newest systems that is known to us, because the first hormone or the first endocrine gland was not found until the early 20th century. So it's only about a little more than 100 years old, unlike all the other cardiovascular, respiratory, or GI digestive system. We know that for centuries. And the endocrine system consists of all the endocrine glands that secretes hormones. Let's start with what is endocrine? In our human body, there are two secreting tissues. One we call the exocrine gland. Most of them associated with GI tract and all associated with our skin. We have sweat gland that secretes sweat. Also, there are bigger glands like the liver, pancreas. They secrete digestive enzymes into the GI tract. The secretion of these exocrine gland cells, they empty into a lumen and form a duct, and then empty into the GI tract or to the surface of our skin, just like our sweat gland. And the salivary gland is the same. We have 3 pairs of salivary glands that secrete saliva into our mouth. But the second type of secretion tissues, they do not have duct. Their secretion is directly into the interstitial fluid that surround the gland cells. And then this secretion will be taken up by capillary, by blood vessels. Then they will be carried by the cardiovascular system along with the blood and transport to all parts of our body. So this is we call the endocrine gland, and their secretion is called hormone. The definition of hormone is produced and secreted into the circulation by endocrine cells. And the other thing is they usually in trace amount. And then they are carried in the blood to their target cells. Hormone in the blood circulation can reach almost all parts of our body, but they only react with specific receptor molecules that are located in their target cells. So only target cells for certain hormone, they have specific receptors recognize the hormone. And for other tissues, they don't have the receptors, they will not react to hormones. Since they are secreted in trace amount, they also be carried by cardiovascular system and diluted in the blood. But they still can have their functions, so that they act like catalytic quantities. So we are talking about very small amount, nanogram levels, picogram levels, or molar concentration. And the one hormone may have more than one effect. And they may also act on different target tissues, as long as those tissues are present with their receptors. So this figure just to say, each hormone, like hormone 1, 2, 3, they can have their multiple actions. Each can have more than one actions. And in our body, a lot of physiological processes like metabolism, like growth, like reproduction, they require or they are controlled by more than one hormones. So hormone 1, 2, 3 can all act together to accomplish multi-hormone processes. Endocrine systems, they are composed of many endocrine glands. And these endocrine glands are dispersed in all over our body. So just give you an overview. Some endocrine glands, we call them classical ones, like anterior and posterior pituitary glands, thyroid gland, Most endocrine glands are separated, not connected together, not like other systems. Like cardiovascular system, the heart is connected with arteries and then with veins. And respiratory system, from mouth, from trachea, and from bronchi, and to the lung. They're connected. Okay, the renal system is the same. The endocrine system, totally different. Hypothalamus, pituitary, thyroid, they're all distinct by their own. But they do have some invisible link. We can link hypothalamus, pituitary, and three major peripheral endocrine glands together. One is thyroid, the second is adrenal gland, and the third is the gonad. So we can have three almost like imaginary axis, we call it hypothalamus, pituitary, thyroid axis, that's HPT, and hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal axis, HPA, and hypothalamus, pituitary, and gonad axis is called HPG. Thyroid, and also there are parathyroid behind the thyroid. There are two distinct endocrine glands, but parathyroid usually embedded, attached on the thyroid gland. And there are adrenal gland, that's two glands above left and right kidney. And then there are gonads, that's the sex organs. In the female, that's ovaries, and in the male, there are testes. So these are more or less we call the classical endocrine glands. But the brain, especially the bottom part of the brain, the diencephalon, the hypothalamus, is now we know they secrete lots of hormones. And even our heart can secrete one kind of hormone called AMP, atrial natriuretic peptide. And then the liver is a major digestive or metabolism organ, but it can also secrete insulin-like growth factor. And even the kidney, that's the urinary system, the forming urine filtrate the blood and they excrete urine. The kidney can produce more than one hormone. Actually, one is called erythropoietin, that's for red blood cell synthesis, and one is called the vitamin D, and the other is actually an enzyme, but is also regulated and secreted by kidney. It's called the renin. The GI tract, that's gastrointestinal tract. We now know there are many GI hormones. From the first one called the secretin, it's also the first hormone discovered, and then gastrin, cholecystokinin, and there are all kinds of incretin we know these days. And even blood vessels can secrete some kind of hormone called angiotensin, and even our fat tissue called adipose tissue can secrete a hormone called the leptin that kind of feedback control our appetite to regulate our body weight. Today, even placenta is more or less transitory because it only lasts for about 9 months in pregnant mother. But it's also a very important endocrine gland to support the fetus. Although we have so many endocrine glands and so many hormones in our body, but the major functions of all these hormones we can classify into 4 major categories that will make things a little bit easier. The first is for the growth and development of an organism from the very start, from during fetal stage. So, growth hormone, thyroid hormone, insulin, glucocorticoids like cortisol, androgens, that's the male hormone like testosterone, and estrogens, that's the female hormone, estradiol, progesterone. They can control our growth and development. The second category is to the maintenance of our internal environment. That's our interstitial fluid, or the internal sea. Mostly we control the electrolyte composition, the osmolarity. Includes sodium, potassium, calcium mostly. So we have ADH, control the water concentration, that's antidiuretic hormone. Angiotensin, aldosterone, that's for sodium mostly. Angiotensin actually control aldosterone. And PTH is parathyroid hormone, and calcitonin is another hormone secreted by thyroid. They control the homeostasis of calcium. That's our control of internal environment, mostly some minerals or electrolytes. And the third category deal with metabolism. That's energy production, utilization, and the storage. The most famous one is insulin. And all the other ones, most likely they antagonize the action of insulin. Insulin can tend to lower plasma glucose levels, but glucagon, thyroid hormone, cortisol, epinephrine, even growth hormone, I can put in leptin, most of them can increase plasma glucose level. And the last of the largest group, the function is reproduction. Reproduction of any species, including human, heavily depend on the action of sex hormones. The hormones secreted from pituitary, from gonads, male hormone, female hormone, androgens, and estrogens. So from hypothalamus, pituitary, and gonadal axis, all three axes, the hormone they secrete. Although there are so many hormones, they only control 4 major functions in our body. And you know who are they, you have a better picture of the endocrine system and their functions.